Hey everyone, welcome back to Columbia City. Hopefully you're having a normal one. I am. Nice day here. We're back in Columbia City. We're taking a look at the greenway and the industrial suburb that we built in the last episode. This episode, we're going to be moving back towards the city. We're going to be building a botanical garden in Yesler Park to complete the park and filling in a bunch of gaps in this area to make the area feel a lot more complete. So let's get straight into things. So we're starting off here in this space in Yesler Park that I never actually built because I ran out of time in that episode that I, built the entire park in. And I've really always intended for it to be a botanical garden. I didn't really I didn't take inspiration from anything in specific in real life, just kind of my experience. I actually don't remember going to any sort of botanical gardens other than Huntington Gardens in LA, which is really beautiful, and I'd recommend it. I don't know if it's open right now, but it's really cool. Lots of awesome architecture showcased there as well. Really awesome stuff, but that's, I think, my only experience going to a botanical garden. But anyway, in this episode, we're building Maison Botanical Garden to honor Mr. Mason and his glorious foliage on the workshop. And weirdly enough, I think most of the like the main focuses of the park are going to be trees by Gray Flame, which is kind of funny. But I mean, I guess this is just kind of, it's called Maison Botanical Garden just because I've been planning on calling it that for a little while now. But it's, it's really an ode to all of the amazing foliage creators on the workshop, Gray Flame, Padelmo, Mr. Mason, that just make make this series possible, because this series is really heavily based around foliage, and I feel like building some sort of botanical garden like this was just something I had to do at some point in the series, and I think putting it in this huge urban park, Yesler Park, it's probably the best place on the map for it. And maybe I'll have another one at some point. For now, we've just got this one. It's actually less, focused on flowers and that kind of thing. More, I want to showcase all of the different types of conifers that Columbia City has to offer. So we're using a bunch of Gray Flame's amazing conifer assets here, combined with some paths, some natural resource textures, and we'll end up placing a bunch of ferns from Mr. Mason, from TPB, on just sort of on the ground here below the trees. We'll do that a little later in the build. Right now, though, we're just sort of placing I'm placing a diverse array of conifers kind of on the periphery, but we have different spots within here that have different types of conifers. We also have an area with Gray Flame's hardwoods. I just try to keep the types of trees generally segregated, just so people can see one type in one area, which is, I guess, my experience with my limited experience with this kind of thing. And it just looks super cool. I'd love to go here. It's a pretty small botanical garden, all things to consider, and it's got this weird, sci-fi looking building in the center. It's, I think, some sort of observatory, but I saw it on the front page of the workshop, and I thought it would look really cool in the build. I don't know what it's really for. Maybe there's some special tree in there or plant, or maybe there are a bunch of flowers in there and it's like a greenhouse. I don't know. We're also using Mr. Mason's palm house, the Victorian palm house, but we're placing conifers inside instead of the palms because, Pacific Northwest stuff. But yeah, I mean, and we do actually place a lot of flowers here. You'll see there are going to be tons of flowers, and we have these jacaranda trees, which I have a lot of love for from Southern California. Those are all over the place in the spring. They're beautiful, but I know they're here in Northern California as well. That'll be really awesome to see them in San Francisco in the spring when that comes around. Right now I'm kind of enjoying a little bit of fall foliage here in the Bay Area. Finally getting a little bit of it, not much, but it's here, and I kind of miss the insane autumn of the Northeast, but we've got really good weather year-round here, and some other amazing foliage like redwoods and just beautiful open hillsides, some sparse trees interspersed. I love it here. If you're enjoying, a rating would be highly appreciated. That'd be great. Leave me a comment as well, kind of letting me know what you're liking about the series at this point, or maybe what you'd want me to change, kind of builds you want me to make. I mean, I really go off the comments for what I'm going to do in the series. So, you know, input there is highly appreciated if you want to give it. If not, it's fine too. But yeah, talking about input, I wanted to kind of announce a quick name, you know, for the district we built last episode. I'm still trying to decide on a name for the international border crossing. That'll definitely be announced in, you know, a future episode. But quickly, I wanted to announce the name for the industrial suburb that we built in the last episode, inspired by Fremont in Seattle. The name's from Mansar D, and the name's Steamtown, because, you know, the backstory is kind of that the neighborhood has a huge history with industry, and there used to be more factories with smokestacks, right? And the smoke that came out of the chimneys is kind of the indicative of the Steamtown name. And apparently Vancouver also has a neighborhood called Gastown. So I like that name because it kind of, you know, draws off of a name that's in the Pacific Northwest, but it doesn't necessarily replicate it. And it would definitely make sense. Like, you know, that neighborhood does have a lot of industry, but at this point, there aren't many smokestacks. Maybe when I go back and work on it and implement some of the suggestions that you guys left in the last episode, I can actually add some smokestacks, you know, whether active or not. I guess with deindustrialization, the district is getting transformed for sure, but as a backstory, I really like that. So thanks to Mansur D for the name suggestion there. Highly appreciated. Yeah, so we're kind of working in the back of these. Ooh, okay, no, we're down to the waterfront here. So if you're not aware, this huge waterfront sort of amusement park thing we built way earlier in the series, but it was placed near downtown in a really awkward location. So I moved it over here temporarily, and I actually ended up really liking the location here. I'm still deciding on what the downtown's waterfront's going to look like, and I'll announce that in a future video. I definitely want to build it sooner rather than later. I know Seabud is making, I mean, Seabud's made one wharf already for the downtown, but and another I believe is coming. But those could also be used in countless other places in the map, considering the way Seattle works, or just sparsely in downtown. Like, I don't necessarily think downtown Columbia City needs to have a huge, you know, sort of diagonal piers everywhere, although it'd be really cool. I'm sort of considering a more Portland-styled approach with a green waterfront of some sort and some marinas. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to go with. It might end up being a combination of the two, but it'll definitely integrate with what will be the industry surrounding it in the future. And yeah, if you want to leave some feedback in the comments for what you think the waterfront downtown should look like, that'd be great. I'll definitely read those. Yeah, here we are moving over to the kind of residential area here. The idea with this neighborhood is it's a pretty upscale, largely single-family residential neighborhood. The area around Central Park up on the hill has been upzoned pretty recently, but this is historically pretty high income. Like, it's a nice single-family neighborhood, and it's very hilly. So I use the node controller mod to smooth those nodes on the roads, and it looks so much better than it did before. I'm really digging that mod, and definitely grab it if you haven't already. Really helps with building these hilly neighborhoods to make sure the nodes don't look ridiculous. Because I mean, flat intersections make sense and they're realistic sometimes, but sometimes it's just too steep. Doesn't really make any sense. Oh yeah, and now we're working on this little area by the station that I wasn't really sure what to do with. I ended up using these Semfcorn sort of offices here. And like we had this like pedestrian bridge from the station to them, and I guess it's some sort of like newer development there. I'm not sure what was there before, but I guess it's probably mixed use with maybe some like transportation commission offices combined with cafe or something. I don't know. I might come back to it later and add some tables and stuff as well, although there are already some tables on the station side of things. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's nice. Let me know what you think. Now we're getting to an interesting part of the episode because I'm actually going to be zoning a little bit here. In a little bit, we're placing a bunch of buildings on this hillside, trying to transition from the mixed zoning of the Central Park area, going down the hill and adding some more single-family houses. But I'm not really going to talk too much about that. The zoning I will talk about in the next episode. There's going to be a lot more of that next episode. Just right now, I'm kind of experimenting with it a little bit, and I'll talk about kind of what works for me there, because there's some mods that you got to use to make it work right. And yeah, but I'm zoning again. It's a thing that's happening right now. I'm not, but later in the segment here I will be. I just wanted to do a quick Q&A segment here. So if you're not aware, ask a question in the comments with hashtag Q&A, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. So the first question here from Axel is, will we, and if yes, when will we potentially be getting a face reveal? My face is in various places that you could find pretty easily, but just a quick shameless plug, you can also go over to my Patreon and check out my new 100 patron AMA video, which is all face cam. And yeah, if that's a thing you want to see for some reason, go ahead. Next question from Callum Evans. You mentioned that you were thinking of removing the viaduct. What would you be building there instead? Also, how realistic are all the redwoods between buildings? It makes sense to have them in the forests, but would they had cut them down when building the neighborhood? To me, it looks a little weird, but honestly, I haven't seen much of Seattle. So to the first question about the viaduct, I don't know. I'd probably have a more Portland style downtown, or just kind of adapt it to what Seattle's done. Without the viaduct there. And to the second question, it's actually kind of realistic to have this kind of stuff in the Pacific Northwest. Like, these trees aren't redwoods, they're shorter than redwoods. They are tall, but yeah, there are only a couple of them. I understand the concern, but I'm pretty sure there are trees of comparable size in certain suburbs that aren't newly planted. Next question from Axel again is, what are you studying in university, and has starting the Netherlands given you a new perspective on building European themed cities and city skylines? I'm studying, I'm either going to be majoring in political economy or urban studies probably, and those are kind of the fields I'm studying. And the second question about the Netherlands, yeah, definitely, it's actually more difficult to build than I thought it would be, because I'm really trying to be careful to make sure I represent Groningen well, and it's just the Netherlands well generally. It's a much more complicated sort of undertaking than I had envisioned, at least because I want to get it right. Next question from Alp Azun. Do you support any creators on Patreon? If you do, which ones? I'm currently only supporting Big Mood Energy on Patreon. You should definitely check her channel out, though. I've recommended it a couple times. She makes videos kind of like Do Not Eat, talking about American or urban transit history and stuff. Definitely worth watching. I'll link that in the description. Next question from Felix Pujad. Will you ever do an Asian-inspired city? Probably not, and that's kind of just because it's so, unless I go to Asia and learn a lot about, I mean, obviously you can't, like, Asian inspired cities, it's going to be different by country, but it's already very difficult for me to build an accurate European city, so I can't really see myself doing that well, so probably not. But yeah, that's about it for the Q&A for today. Ask your questions in the comments with hashtag Q&A, but anyway, it's kind of time for us to hop into the overview which is going to be a pretty big one for this episode. We're going to be flying over starting in Old Town. As you can see, Yesler Park it's complete, guys. Yesler Park, it's done. The entire thing, this beautiful, huge urban park, now has a beautiful botanical garden. Not many flowers, but there are tons of pines and hemlocks and everything of the sort. And we've got this amusement park right near Old Town as well. The amusement park is what used to be in downtown, but I think it fits better here, and I'm definitely happier with it in this location. We've got a sort of shoreline bike path going by here that goes up here into this wealthier neighborhood called Gilmour Hill, and we got a nice little baseball diamond there on the hill, and a nice waterfront as well with a bike path. We're going to add some buildings to the waterfront, some marinas in the future, but for now, this is what we've got. I'm definitely happy with it. I'm happy with the zoning transition. I think it looks pretty realistic. And as you can see, this area really did fill out in this episode, and the city is feeling a lot more like a city now. Hopefully you agree. But now we're down on ground level. We're looking at a nice little colonial house, which is probably a little out of place in the Pacific Northwest, but regardless, nice asset for sure. And I miss colonial houses from the Northeast. But yeah, we're actually kind of in the forest by the Botanical Garden, kind of looking at the development on the street next to it. We got like a Rite Aid, Walgreens, weirdly right next to each other. And some other buildings on that street. And then here's the wealthier neighborhood, Gilmour Hill, that we kind of worked on, and the paved street that was newly paved, clearly, that kind of goes down this hill here. And here we have the kind of waterfront bike path. I didn't detail it too much. I just used the vanilla park paths and then some various like hardwood scrubs, I think, or no, the various like just pine scrubs from Gray Flame. But yeah, then we have just, I don't know, the shoreline's got like a lot of nice rocky sand texture on it, and these trees are just perfect. I'm really happy with this, and I'd love to ride my bike here. That would be amazing. We've got the corner that we kind of built in Old Town to fill that gap. Got a beautiful bus going by. I have to kind of edit the buses in advanced vehicle options though to make them go by a little bit slower, because right now they stop really abruptly at stop signs and stuff, so I gotta figure that out. Yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed. I really like this one. I thought it was a great episode in terms of what we got done. We got a lot done in terms of expanding the city, filling in gaps. It was a really productive one. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Lets YouTube know that it should recommend my videos more. Helps me out a ton. Just a nice way of saying thanks. Leave some feedback in the comments if you want to do that. Subscribe if you're new around here. Hit the bell icon if you want to get notified whenever I upload a video. You could support me on Patreon if you want to get videos super early, ad-free, or get your name in the credits, get shout-outs. A quick shout-out to Robinson Griffin, Matthew Zaime, Joey G., Forrest Corbett, and Emalog. Thank you all so much for being patrons on my Patreon page, and for your support. You can also get access to save games on Patreon. Just download the Columbia City save game, fly around in it, build in it. That's over there on my Patreon if you're interested. You could also just support me with a one-time donation and buy me a coffee. That's also in the description as well. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed. You can follow me on Twitter if you want updates on future videos. What it looks like, weekly uploads are going to be a thing for the time being, hopefully. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you're liking the progress of the city. Enjoy the cinematics, and yeah, see you next time.